All right. Hi, everybody. Joe Fontesha. Thank you, Sean. That was nicely done. I have been thinking about what to do for you folks because we've had so many different varieties of things. But I think one of the things that hasn't been covered is what we call traditional playing of the organ, which means that I'm not going to use rhythms today or what we call signature arrangements. And I know a lot, we've been talking many, many times. But of course, I learned to play as a traditionalist without any rhythms, had to do pedals, had to do chords. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that. And for those that have even a single keyboard, double keyboard, and also how to do it very easily to sound really like you are a theater organist. So we're going to get into that. So I'm just going to open with varieties of music. I'm going to play a little bit longer this time because I'm going to give you varieties of sounds from the theater, popular, church, classical sounds that are on the instrument. I am playing on an SU series. It's the Stardust. And I'll also explain it a little bit differently if we have time on the A series. Because traditionally the tabs on the SU, the tabs are these little things that are here in front. And then we have presets, which are above those on the SU. What they did on the A series, they reversed it. They put the presets below and the tabs above because people weren't using the tabs as much. So it was reversed and made larger on the A series. But anyways, I'm going to give you the old traditional way of playing, and I hope you enjoy it. I don't get a chance to do this too often because I'm always using the rhythms. And as we go along, I'm going to have Joni move the camera a little closer to the tabs so you can see. But anyways, here's one of my opening numbers. I had some fun with that. I used everything on there, from the theater, the classical, piano, high strings, low strings, organ sounds. And again, that's the way I was taught to play, was the pedals, the chords, and so on. But we got to understand that we have simplified that in something called presets. But how did they get into the presets? People don't know. And that has to do with what we call pipes. When you look at your keyboard, everybody who has the tabs, now if you've got one that just has, that says organ, and it has a full sound, a sweet organ, you won't have that because they program that in there. But if you've got the tabs are these things. Now, they have to be, they're either white or clear. And they'll say 16, 8, 4, 2, and so forth. So those are the lengths of the pipes. And so if you have a 16-foot pipe, you divide it by 2, and then you have an 8-foot pipe. And if you divide it by 2 again, you'll have a 4-foot pipe. If you divide it again by 2, you have a 2-foot pipe. If you divide it again, you have a 1-foot. That's the length of all the flute sounds that is in there. So here's one that's, let's see what this one is. And of course, one that's a little bit smaller will be a little bit higher. And then, of course, if we have a smaller one again. So this is what you're hearing when you play organ sounds, are these in combinations. Now let me show you something. I wish Joni can get the keyboard set up for me here, because this is cool. This is really cool. And I hope you can hear this. This is middle C. Can we see that? Okay, now that's an 8-foot flute sound, guys. 8-foot. Now watch, I'm going to play the same note, and I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to put a 16-foot. I'm still going to play the same note. Listen to it. See, it went an octave lower. Okay, so we're going to come back to the 8-foot. That's the actual, like a piano. Now I'm going to put on the 4-foot flute, and watch what happens. It went up an octave. Now I'm going to go to a 2-foot, went up another octave, and if I go a 1-foot, it's all the way up at the end. See, so when you play and you put all these together, you have 1 octave, 2 octaves, 3 octaves, 4 octaves, 5. So the more tabs you have, the bigger the organ sound you're going to get. Now this is impossible to play. If I tried to play it myself, I couldn't do it, because I have to play C. Let's see, how can I do this now? Let's see. Let's do C, C. Wait a minute, there's 5 octaves. How do I play the last one? Well, the only thing left is my nose. You see, that's the only way you could do it, is to play 5 octaves. Now, but I could do it very easily. And that's what makes the organ sound. So you can't get that when you play piano. You can't get that, okay? So remember, that is how we get the sounds, okay, from octaves to octaves. So now when I play C and I add another note, guess what it's adding? I'm going to add E. It's going to add 5 extra notes. And if I play G, it's going to add 5 extra notes. So that's my chord, see? And that's what... Now, believe it or not, we put in AOC, which, of course, AOC was the chord harmony, which will do it for you, so you can have extra notes in there, put in there for you. But this is how an organ is built in these tabs, okay? And they have to be clear tabs. And I have a chart here, and if anybody would like this chart, I guess if Joni can maybe see if she can pull it up, it tells you about the clear tabs, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1, okay? Now, that's the colors of them. When you get into the green tabs that you have will be strings, flute, and sustain. So if you have green tabs, you'll see that it will say for strings, and that also will work for you, okay? And then you also have purple tabs. The purple tabs are your theater organ tabs. So those colors mean something, and so they're not just there for the sakes of just color the organ. So the white ones are clear, are your flutes. The yellow ones are your strings. The purple ones are your theater organ sounds, okay? Those are the tabs that we use to get the varieties of sound. Green for strings and flute and sustain, and then the flute tabs are white and the purple ones. So now when we do this, this is how we put these into presets. So if you go to your regular presets, general preset, I just hit it. Guess what it just did for me, my first preset? It put on 3 octaves of sounds, a 16, 8, and 4. So I have 3 octaves. So the 3 octaves would sound like this. And if I put on the first tab, it does it for me. See? So it's giving me that. So the more length of pipes you have, the fuller the sound you're going to have. And you don't have to really be a great player. You can do see, I'm playing right now 3 octaves of sounds. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And that's what makes the difference in playing, is how many of these octaves you have. Now, I don't know if anybody has any questions so far, because I'm gonna show off this a little more. Any questions out there? Can you pull that back a little bit? Let me see if you could see me. I know I'm ugly, but let's see if we could put me back in there. Oh, there I am. Anybody have any questions about flute lengths?
I have a question, but it's not about flute length. I was just wondering if you'd name those tabs again. The green was flutes, was that it?
No, let's go through it one more time.
Okay, thank you.
The clear or white tabs are your regular lengths of flutes, depending on how many you have. You could have 16 all the way up to 1 foot. Those are either clear tabs or white. The green tabs are strings, vocal, or sustain. Got it?
Vocal or sustain?
Okay, that depends. But the green tabs are usually for strings, vocal, and sustain.
Okay, got it.
The purple ones are the names on them will be what they call theater organ or classical organ. That's the purple. They won't say an instrument. They'll say a type of tab that you'll find on a pipe organ, like reed, diapason, canera. Those are what we call theater organ or pipe organ sounds, and they're usually purple. Okay.
You classify that as classical.
Pardon?
You classify that as classical.
Right. You can put that in the classical vein too.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, in classical music, usually the thing that separates classical music to the popular is the sound of the speakers. And I want you to hear that for a second. Here's the speakers just with the regular preset. But watch what happens. I'm going to go over to where I have my speakers, which is on the left side. You hear it? Can you hear the difference? I switched from the popular just by slowing up the speakers to make it into a classical type of sound. So, so it really makes a big difference. It's called Vibro, and that actually used to be, that's another word for, say, a Leslie speaker sound. We can't use that, so we call it Vibro, and it's on your left, and you have a slow or fast speed. So if you slow it up, that's usually in your church classical sound, and you can have fun by just pushing one tab, okay? Now, I'm going to go over to what we call bank presets. And I usually I use what I call factory presets to play standard of music, which means without the rhythm. So if I push my A bank, what's cool about my A bank, this gives me just traditional nice organ sounds, okay? If I go to the B bank, this is the one that's called for the jazz organ. Now, if you notice, I skipped over the fractions that you have on your organ. Some of you have 16, 8, 4, 2. The fractions are what is used when people want to play jazz, because listen to this again, and you can hear what I'm going to do here. Here's the flute sound, and usually it goes up an octave. That's the next 4-foot. But if I do a fraction in between, it doesn't go up an octave. It goes up a fifth. You hear that sound kind of dissonant a little bit. If I use another fraction, does a different sound. There's another different. You see? Just by me putting the fractions, I ended up getting into a jazz organ sound because the fractions are what they use to do that. Now, there's another secret for those of you that are lucky enough to have it. Over to your left, or where it says what they call flute tabs, there's a tibia and a jazz. If I touch that, now see if Joni could show that up close a little bit. Okay, hold on a second. This is pretty cool. All of a sudden, the tabs that were red dots have become green. People get confused and say, gee, how come my organ sounds different? What has happened now, by me pushing this jazz one, it switched these over and used the fractions now instead of the regular octave. If I go over to the tibia one, the tibia changes it into, I guess, what color do you call that? Orange? Amber? That's a nice name, Amber. Anybody named Amber out there? I like that name. Amber, okay. It changes the colors, and tibias is brighter in sound. So if you like a brighter flute sound, you put on tibias. If you put on the regular red tabs, that's considered the sweet Lowry sound. If you have it turned into green, then you're into a jazz organ sound. Very percussive in sound. So let me demonstrate that. That's kind of cool there. So. Kind of a really, now watch the difference when I switch it over to the nice sweet sound it goes into. I'm going to switch it back to the Lowry sound. Much sweeter in sound. So I just switched from the Lowry sound to the jazz organ sound to the tibia sound. So if you put on tibias, you're going to have a much brighter sound, and that's called tibias. If you want to have a jazz organ sound, like playing Satin Doll or any of those, you would put the jazz, but the colors will tell you what's on. Remember that. The colors will always come in. I hope you like that. That's pretty cool, okay? All right, any questions on that so far? I mean, I did 100% on everybody. All right, now how can I play this being an easy player or somebody? Joe, you were playing all over the keyboard. And how can I do it if I don't know all those notes on there? Well, these are the ways to do it. First of all is you want to go to your banks, and you want to pick one of the sounds that you want. First of all, bank 1 gives me my nice sweet sound. My bank 2 will give me my jazz organ sounds. Bank A, did I say that? Bank A. Okay, bank A, bank B, bank C gives me my classical sound, and bank D will give me my strings and give me a beautiful piano. So if you like strings for that, that is a beautiful. So those are the way to do it. Now, the next thing you would do, once you get your sounds, let me go back to the traditional Lowry one, which is this one. Now what I want to do next is add the easy button. Now what is the easy button? Because I don't play pedals. Well, I don't know pedals. I can't move my foot, but I don't know how to move my hand up and down. Now I have that nice chord in my left hand, so I could still play all of the stuff. And if I want to switch it over the strings, So that's what I just did for those that play one finger in the left hand. Now, again, what I'm listening to is just one note in the right hand. What else can you add to make that sound a lot better for somebody who hasn't been playing for years? Well, that's where you get over to your harmony section of the organ. And again, the harmony section will be purple. Write that down. It'll be the same color as your theater tabs. The harmony buttons will be purple. And again, depending on the size of the keyboard you will have numerous types of harmonies. And that's how you can add extra notes. Now, my favorite, and write this one down, this is really a trick, is going to be number 6 preset. And if you look in your harmony section, it'll say 3-part. If you want to really sound like some of the classical organists and the theater organists, put it on 3, or if you have it, 4-part harmony. Now, why that's important, it spreads it all over the keyboard for you with one finger. So here it is without that, and then listen to the 3-part and listen to the 4-part, how nice that sounds. I'm going to go back to the Lowry sound. Now I'm going to add 3-part. Listen to 4-part. See? So that really fills it up for you. Okay, we have any questions? Charlotte. Can you unmute yourself, Charlotte?
Hi, Joe.
How are you, dear?
I'm good. Hi, I have a Liberty, and speaking of the tabs, I have tabs on the left and tabs on the right. The left one is orange, that says bass, and the right side says theater, and it's purple. Do you use that the same way as you would the ones that out in the front?
Yep, definitely.
Okay.
Okay, remember, try not to, here's what happens though, try not to mix organs types. That's really what I'm trying to get across here. If I want to play popular, I want the red sound, which is the nice Lowry sound. If I want to play something in the more brighter sound or classic sound, I'll use that tibias. If I'm going to use fractions, then I'm going to start playing in a jazz. People mix them up, and really they're wondering why the organ isn't sounding as well, because you haven't put the type of sound to match the song you're playing. Now, if you got to learn a little bit about music to know which ones are in that category. You know, if you play a hymn, I'm not going to have a jazz sound on there. I'm going to make sure I have the classical sound to get that played a little nicer. And if I'm going to play a popular song like we teach in some of the songs in our book, then I want that nice red tabs here to be on and get me the nice flute sound. Remember, you don't need to have rhythm with this. This is strictly to play one note, even if you can, and then add a chord in the left hand. And the more you learn, the more. I have a lady that she just wants to play classical. So we're setting up her keyboard, always in the classical sounds, because that's all she wants to play is the classical. So we're setting up that for her to play one note in classical sounds, okay? Any questions? Inez. Unmute yourself, Inez.
I did.
Okay.
So you choose the bank, and then you put the easy button on. Do you push organ under the rhythm presets?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
The only thing you might add, remember, as I said, is you would add a harmony depending on how full you want the organ. And Sean did a great workshop regarding that, I think, a time back, where, remember, if you add harmony, play an octave higher, because harmony brings notes below your melody. Harmony is always to the left of what the melody note is. And Sean made that very emphasis. So if I hear people put harmony on and play down here, see what I mean, how that sounds? Listen how nice it sounds up here. See how much nicer? See, just an octave difference made a big difference in playing. So when you add harmony, make sure you play up an octave, and it'll make a big, big difference, okay? Now, I enjoy that because, now, for those of you that play chords in the left hand, let's take the easy button off, because sometimes we forget about people that like to play the left hand. Now, in the left hand, if you're going to play a chord in the left hand, there's what we call, now this is just for those who want to bring the camera up over here for you guys. This is pretty cool. This is Sister Bonaventure taught me this, and she slapped my hand with a ruler many times. So this is, I'm going to hit one of the tabs. Now, if you could see my left hand, she taught me to hold a note with my little finger of the chord and play the other two notes. So it sounds like this. So it sounds like this if I got to play pedals. And that's the way she taught me. If I play a C chord, hold a note. You hear that tone in there? Now, you do have a memory button, but that's, so you can, but it holds everything down, so you have to play it. So if you're going to practice a chord holding one note, and then practice with, then it's good for waltzes. You hear that note over there held? That's called a drone tone. And that's the way the old pipe organist used to play, is always holding that drone tone down. So if you want to do something, for those of you that have been playing a while, practice that. See if you can hold a note down of the chord and then play the other notes. See what I'm doing? I hold one note down and then I play the other ones. So that's the way we play when we don't have the rhythm. Of course, if I wanted to make it really easy, I could put the waltz on. And now I'm already doing what that was doing. So if you want to take the easy way, that's what we did for folks. We gave them the easy way on that through the putting it on there. Put the waltz on, hit a chord, and it does exactly what you practice for years and years and years. Okay, any other questions on that? Isn't that fun? Okay, so I have two sheets on this, which is covering the types of, and again, how to use them. These tabs provide you many, many beautiful sounds for the upper keyboard. The section starts with the red, which, as I mentioned to you, and moves to the right. Again, the flute sounds are your 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. Okay? Your green tabs then become your strings, 16, 8, and 4. Again, those are octaves. Okay? All right. Now, the easiest way to get some of them is to go through, here's what you should try to practice. Go through your presets and look at your tabs. Look at the tabs and see if you could figure what it is. So here's a little game you can play with yourself. Say, I just pressed number 1 preset. Okay, it added 16, 8, and 4. What did the organ just set up for me? It set up 3 octaves of flute sounds for me. I'm going to push number 2. Wow, this one set up 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. It set up 5 organ sounds for me, 5 octaves. I'm going to push number 3. Oh, this went over to the tibias, and the tibias set me up again with 5 octaves of sound, but in a flute, in a tibia type of sound. The next one went into the strings, and my string tabs are on. 5 was chimes. Number 6. Oh, I look over and it set up harmony for me. So that's what you should do, so you know what these are giving you when you play them, other than guess. So if I come over here now to my D bank in my bank presets, I'm going to look at that, and it says it has cello, strings, pizzicato, a horn. Oh, this one is really good. That is a really, really good sound. So again, that's the horn. Number 4 is strings. And again, I look at the keyboard and I can see all of these that come on. If I go to number C, this goes into right away. I look over here to my right, and if I can get this, put that on right there. I went over to the C bank, and you could see right away it went into my theater settings. So you should know where these are going for you, because that's the what type of music you want to play. It isn't just guesswork. I know where these are going. So if I'm going to play in my classical or theater work, I want to have my C bank on, and that is really, really cool. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate some of these, unless we have some more questions. I'm going to demonstrate some of them. I'm going to give you the flute sounds. I'm going to give you the classical sound, and then I'm going to put them all together in one. And I might just add rhythm, because there's a rhythm on here that I just love for this. I just want to say that I might cheat a little bit and put that on for the sake of seeing that. Any questions? Okay, so here I'm going to go, and I'm going to go right into just the regular, nice, beautiful, what I call Lowry sound, which is in my A bank, or I can use some of them from my regular G. And again, I can play the chord myself. So this is kind of a neat one to do. Just listen how nice this sounds. That's just a beautiful, beautiful sound. So I'm going to go over here now to the B bank, and these are my jazz organs. So you really get into some of the really... If I go into the C, I now have my nice... If you want to play church music, use the C bank. If I go into number D, that gives me my strings, okay? Now here is a little trick that is done by every concert artist, and I want to see if maybe I can have Joni give me the picture of the keyboard here, okay? Okay, this is a trick of every concert artist, and it'll make you sound like a genius, okay? So watch what I'm going to show you. This is good for the key of C, okay? And it's called block hand. It's like my hand has become a stiff. It doesn't move. And I'm going to play B and G. B and G. And I'm going to move up, locking my hand, and move up one note for each of those. So B is going to become C, and G is going to become A. And I keep moving all the way up. Lock my hand. Practice this. And I'm going to stop at G. So here's what, and then I'm going to add a... And it sounds brilliant, like you really know what you're doing. It goes. You can even do it in reverse. I I put that in almost every one of my concerts, and you'll see everybody do it. I do it. So it's just B and G, and you move up, locking your hand. And you can do this for any introduction of any song that's in the key of C. Gives you a great introduction, and you sound like $1 million. So that's an introduction. I'm going to turn it over back to Sean for see if he's got some special announcement. He's not there. Sean went left. Okay, there is some special announcement. Joni, do you want to? Wednesday, tomorrow at 2 o'clock is another show, and who's doing it? And Robert is doing a special journey tour. Okay, here he is. Sean, you want to make some announcements for everybody?
Yeah, it's called A Journey Through Time. And Robert will be playing, and that is tomorrow at 12 p.m. Arizona, 2 p.m. Eastern. So don't miss it.
2 p.m.?
You bet. And that's all I got.
Okay. All right. I'm going to finish up, and I'm going to use a classical style because there is a rhythm called Baroque on here. And Baroque is a very special classic style. So if you want to do some classical music, this is the one I use for some classical arrangements. And it really is cool. And I want you just to hear it for a second. right, thank you. I hope you got
Yay.
something out of this. Thank you all very, very much. I hope you learned a little bit about the tabs and about flute lengths, and use them. Make sure you look at those tabs to see what's on, whether it's red. What? Okay, we got the pipe lengths. Hey, what? Here we go. Shorter. And very short. So if you come to Octave Hall in Clearwater, you'll see the full length of pipes. We have a whole set of them. I stole those 3 today. I got to make sure I bring them back. So anyways, they'll be back there on Thursday. Again, thank you all so very much. And I hope you got something out of this. And thank Joni for her assistance and her and Sean for all of that. Okay, everybody? Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.